Welcome back, Redemption Builders. We've progressed from the private leader to the public leader. Now we're talking about who you are in public spaces and how you show up. The two things that I really want to touch on for this first lesson are professionalism and civility. And I'll expand upon those two. First of all, professionalism. I want to talk about this in three areas. The definition of professionalism, straight from the Webster's Dictionary, is it's competency or skill expected of a professional. We all know people who are very unprofessional, and usually a person reeks of being unprofessional. You feel it or you see it before they even show it, and or as they show it. And that's a humongous skill that's missing today among professionals, and in professional settings. The lack of professionalism screams so loudly, and it's really something that needs to be taught. It needs to be a part of orientation, but really it's an expectation that you know it when you show up first day of a job, or once you get a job, you're expected to be a professional. So three areas that I want to point out for this that can really separate you from the pack are respect, timeliness, and your dress. So respect, first of all, you got to respect yourself, and this is one of my golden rules. If I respect myself, if I respect other people, if I respect the environment or the position that I have, I'm going to deal with it in a specific way. I'm going to be a professional about it. I'm going to deal with it with a sense of urgency. I'm going to be timely. It's going to be at the top of my priority list. It's not going to be something that's set back at the back of my mind. So respect runs deep. Professionalism, we could go on for days and days, and like I said, every job needs to teach this. But I'm just going to touch on these areas. This is the surface, but you could always go deeper with this. Second, timely. Sometimes in a professional environment, people will be on a personal phone call or whatever it might be, and they'll tell you they're going to get back to you, or you shoot them an email, or you make a call, and sometimes they never get back to you. So being timely is so important, because other people's time is respect, or you should respect other people's time, and their time is important. And then lastly, your dress. How do you show up in public spaces physically? Do you trim your hair up? Do you comb your hair? Do you wash your face? Do you take care of your hygiene? But do you dress well? And you don't have to be the best dressed person in the place, but do you dress well enough so that people respect you and so that you're presentable? Or are your clothing something that you could wear to the club, or something that you wear out with your boys or your girls, or flashy? It's nothing wrong with being a little flashy, but being professional. Professional dress. Think about it. When you show up at a bank, or if you show up at a church, you know the difference. You know when somebody is flashy or completely unprofessional in the way that they dress. Just very presentable. Iron your clothes, tuck your shirt in if it's appropriate, because sometimes it's appropriate to be flashy, and sometimes it's appropriate to not tuck your shirt in and not have your clothes pressed, but you got to know what environment that you're in. So we'll move on to civility. I could talk about professionalism all day. Civility, the definition is the formal politeness and courtesy and behavior and speech. We talked about being respectful under professionalism, but how civil are you? Are you practicing civility in the workplace? Are you practicing civility when you're outside the workplace? I see students all the time before they see me, or students see me before I see them in public places. And if I ever was not civil, they'd be like, "Mr. Ferguson, is that you?" They'd be so surprised and shocked, and really that would ruin my witness. It would ruin my reputation with them. That's Mr. Ferguson. That's you being completely disruptive in that public place. You tell us all the time to use inside voices and to speak to each other with respect, but you weren't doing it when I saw you. That would ruin my witness completely. In the definition of civility, it talks about being polite. Not that politeness is always necessary, but are you polite in just your normal dealings? When someone says good morning to you, do you say it back? Do you make eye contact and smile? Do you frown every day? Do you always dwell on negative things? Or are you just a polite and kind person? It takes work, and that's why we talked about the public leader first. Sometimes you see people that show up in public spaces with a very negative disposition, that rub you the wrong way and they're the people you want to avoid in the mornings, that's because they haven't done their work in the private setting. It's so important that we go in this progression so that when you show up in a public space, that you're respectable, that you are professional, and that you are civil, and you show civility, because that's half the battle. It truly separates you from the pack, but it gets respect, and it gets honored by your peers and also your clients. For me, my peers are bachelor's level, master's level, PhD level professionals, and also my clients, students and families, and they respect you when you respect them. When you show up in a civil manner, and you speak to them with civility, and then you also are a professional, they respect that, just like you respect it. So don't give people what you don't, the things that you don't appreciate, rudeness, negativity, procrastination, the things that you hate. You shouldn't be giving that to other people. The same things that you respect and that you have at a high quality, that's what your clients, that's what your peers, and that really that's what you care about, and that, to move up as leadership, and like I said, separate you from the pack. When you start talking about promotions, that comes along with the territory. It's the fact that, are you identified as a leader? It's not about, sometimes being likable is important, but that's not the biggest thing. Being a professional, do you do what you're asked to do? Do you do what you say you're going to do? And then being civil, can people depend on you to not burn bridges and to not be the wedge creating division in the workplace? And in a setting that I work in, there's roughly 100 staff members, and even 5 times that of students. It's not okay to be a wedge. It's not okay to be selfish. Selfishness or being selfless, to me, is that's a quality of a professional. Professionals should be selfless. They should be giving of themselves. I went a little long today, but let's go back to our Redemption Builders mantra. I respect myself. I respect others. I influence every environment that I'm in. Thank you, guys. We'll see you back next week.